guys, welcome back, and also welcome back to me. I'm so sorry I haven't been doing my regular uploading schedule lately. My family and I were quarantined together for a while, so I wasn't able to film or do any voiceovers. And by the way, if you guys want regular video updates, join my Discord server. I will be putting the link in the description. It's the easiest way for me to put out video updates out there, and there's also a place where you guys can share your own artworks and stuff, so it's really fun. If you're interested, it will be in the description. Today we are doing something I do once in a while. I like to try different things, just different art supply combinations, so I can see which ones work together and which ones don't. I do this so I can sort of get to know my art supplies better, and also so I can see which one of these combinations are worth exploring more in the future. So this first one I'm gonna use today, I actually haven't used at all. This is my first time using soft pastels, so I'm very excited. This, by the way, was a gift from my Reddit Secret Santa, and I haven't been able to use it, so it's really exciting for me to finally get to use it properly. And today I'm gonna be using it with my gouache, and I don't know if it's even that out there of a concept. It probably isn't, but before I tried this, I was really just trying to be as random as possible because I wanted to challenge myself. And now, after the whole thing, while I'm doing this voiceover, kind of makes sense. So I'm gonna be showing you how these two actually do work really well together. Now we're gonna be doing damage on this sketch that I actually really liked. I did this, by the way, with my Prismacolor Very Thins, and these are great for sketching, these pencils. They're a little bit harder than their Premier line, which is their normal colored pencil line, but these feel more like regular pencils, so they're easier to sketch with. And also there are just a lot more color options with this one. I have found with these that they're very hard to erase, so you might want to keep that in mind if you want to try these out. So before I actually do any kind of research on my art supplies, I like to try them out first, just so I can get to know them myself before I let the rules kind of stop me from doing that, I guess you can say. So I can see myself completely using this the wrong way, and I apologize in advance if you guys know how to properly use these. But right now I'm just applying them with my fingers, and I didn't think that it was easier that way. I think the best way to go with these is to either use a brush for them or those sponges that I've seen people use for pan pastels, but I don't have the sponges, and I don't think the brush will work as well as my fingers, so that's what I'm going with right now. I actually really love this hazy, sort of fuzzy look it gave me, and I like how the colors blend together and sometimes they just sit next to each other really well. But I think one of my first mistakes was adding the dark colors in with my pastels too. What I should have done was do all of the bright punchy colors with my pastels and do the dark, more defined values with my gouache. That was the vision that I wanted, and before I started really doing this, I didn't really think about the process behind going for it. But again, those things are kind of part of the learning process when you're going through something like this. So here's where I am. One other thing that I love about my pastels is that they preserved the texture of the paper really well. They didn't disrupt any of that tooth to the paper, and it also didn't create its own texture to it, which I feel like is something that gouache does. So I'm sketching on top of it right now. Feels great still, and I did this just so I can make out the lines better, because I'm going for more defined sort of strokes with my gouache. I really needed that on top of my pastels, and they got a little covered up beneath all of that smudging that I did with my hand. So now this is the fun part. We are going over it with gouache, and this part, the beginning part of the process, like with their hair and everything, went exactly as I wanted it to look. And my vision for this was to go carve out the details and add the darker values to the piece with just the gouache. So this part really worked like I wanted it to work. And I even liked how I did the strands of her hair. I was using this very fine brush by, I think it was by Winsor & Newton Cotman. And at the time I wasn't used to painting with it still, but I think it went really well that time. But I think where I deviated most from my original plan was when working on her shirt. It would have worked better, I feel like, if I didn't add too many of the punchy colors with the gouache, like the orange and the green. I think it would have worked better had I just done the gouache with maybe just black, with variations on its opacity by adding water to it, and then just have all that hazy, colorful layer underneath that peeking through with the transparent parts of the gouache. But you guys can see that I did end up adding a lot of green and just the bright, punchy colors with my gouache, which should have been the pastel's job. But one thing I didn't expect during this whole thing was how beautifully the pastels would layer on top of the dried gouache. So because the paper is textured by itself, and I told you guys before how gouache adds its own texture to it when it dries, it's a great combination for layering pastels on, because it wants to hold on to as much tooth as possible. So I especially liked how the yellow sort of haze looked on her hair. And I also did the same thing to some parts of her outfit. I'm really excited about that discovery. I can't wait to integrate that on my future works. Actually, I want to go over some of my older gouache paintings and see what I can do with them, but I know that doesn't usually work as well as I want it to. So you might as well just leave that alone and maybe do that on a newer piece. But yeah, that was one thing that came out of this whole thing that I really liked. And then I just added some dark lines in there with my brush pen, just so I could finish the whole look. it feels like I'm cheating a little bit by using my Posca pens to add the bright yellow highlights on top of everything, which really I could have done with gouache, but at that point I already put my water away and I was too lazy to get up and get some more. But yeah, this is how the whole thing turned out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. But I really hope you guys liked it, and I will be seeing you again soon.